Hi and welcome to Scarecrow. I recently set out to make another mask, this time wanting something that still nodded to the classic Scarecrow look but felt more rooted in old folklore. I hoped the final piece would carry a bit of that eerie storybook energy, sinister, yes, but also distinct from the other Scarecrow masks I've made before. So I started with a plain base mask and began shaping the features with foam clay, building up the nose, eyebrows, cheeks, and chin. Once I was happy with the structure, I covered the clay with fabric to protect it, smooth things out a little, and keep the details from getting damaged during the rest of the process. For the straw, I used raffia strips. They're brilliant for creating that dry, rustic texture. You might not see it clearly, but I actually washed the strips on the right with watered down brown acrylic paint to knock back some of the colour and give them a slightly aged, weathered look instead of that straight from the shop brightness. Okay, so then I moved on to the gluing. I started with a fabric glue, but it just wasn't having it. The strips wouldn't stay put, everything shifted around, and the progress was painfully slow. So eventually, I ended up switching to hot glue, which grabbed the raffia much faster and held it firmly in place. Of course, that came with its own hazards, and if you've ever used hot glue, you'll know exactly what I mean. I managed to properly scorch my thumb at this point, but just about held it together long enough to finish this particular scene. Right, so I've just taken a break from gluing all of the individual strands onto the mask after what's felt like absolutely ages. It's taken a long time to get them all in place, but I think I've got it to a stage where I can probably start adding individual strands just if I need to adjust it slightly. So I've also added in some mesh to the eyes so that when it's worn as a mask, you won't be able to see the eyes. Um, they'll just look like sort of black. And I'm thinking I'm going to add some black kind of oily substance around the eyes as well to act almost like kind of stuff oozing out of the eye and maybe even the mouth as well. The mouth was super complicated. I wasn't sure what to do with it. I decided to basically just leave a kind of a hint of a mouth with all these kind of crisscrossing sets of straw. So it's not actually defined. It's just almost like a kind of gaping maw, but like it's just hidden behind all the straw. I thought that might be cool. Now I'm just going to sort of flesh out a bit more around the top with some more straw. Maybe put some down this side and a bit more on this side as well. And then I think we'll be good to go. A little bit more paint, and I'll get that done, and then we'll have another look. And once the mask was fully covered in raffia, I stepped back and started thinking about how to bring the whole thing to life. I added a wash of watered down black acrylic paint into the low points to create soft shadows and give the face a bit more depth and mood. And then finally, for the eyes, I wanted something that felt like it was oozing or seeping out of the sockets, something unsettling without being over the top. So I mixed sand, black paint, and PVA glue into a gritty paste and worked it around the eye area so it looked like something dark was bleeding through. I think it just added the right amount of menace. And that was the build done. All that was left was to gather my final thoughts on how it all turned out. So, finally finished this one up. It took a long time, but really pleased with the final result. I think it's captured what I wanted it to capture. The kind of rustic look, the sort of the wicker straw man persona. I really like the way the straw is. It sort of makes it seem like a sprite or a kind of almost like a Jack Frost type character, but just made of straw. So yeah, super happy with that. It's made me think about different masks I might make in the future as well. I might try some new stuff going forward, do something similar maybe. But yeah, this is it's been a long one, but I think worth it in the end. And I hope you enjoyed it as well. Hope you enjoyed the journey with me. Hope it gives you some inspiration. And thanks for watching. And we'll we'll see you on the next one.